Hi, this is James, the Comic Book Shifu. Welcome to Read More Comics. This is going to be my Sunday tradition to share with you my pulls and pickup from the previous week with the intention of both sharing my interests, sharing my passion in comic books in this amazing hobby, but also giving you an opportunity to see some books that maybe you want to consider picking up at your local LCS or wherever you might buy comic books. I have a modest stack. Most of these are pulls. Sorry, I just dropped something. But there is one pickup. I picked up a wall book, which is kind of the piece de la resistance, if you will, for this particular pile of comics. So let's get into it. First off, we have Action Comics. This is Doomsday Special. This is a standalone issue. This right here is the variant cardstock cover. I'm not sure who the artist is. It looks like Perio. Awesome art right there. I actually appreciated the A cover more, but I'm a huge fan of two things. One, cardstock, and I really like the minimal trade dress that DC has been doing since the beginning, early on in DC Rebirth, about 5 or 6 years ago. And the nice thing about it is it allows the artist's work to really shine, and you can see this. I picked this up for two reasons. One, I've gotten into Superman since DC Rebirth started. Tomasi and Gleason started a Superman book early on that focused on Superman Clark, Lois, and their son John Kent living, I believe it was in upstate New York. It was an amazing poignant read. It focused on family and values and the relationship between spouses and parents and child. I highly recommend it if you can get your hands on it. It shouldn't be too difficult to find the singles, the floppies, if you will. But you should also be able to, I think they have an Omni that contains all the pertinent comic books. This spiraled my interest from Superman to Super Sons, where it was John Kent and Damian Wayne, who is my favorite favorite Robin. He's the son of Bruce Wayne. And then just has gone from there. And what I've realized is that I really enjoy Superman comic books. I'm not pulling Action comic books right now, but I am reading Tom Taylor's, it's not Superman, Son of Kal-El, I think it is. Tom Taylor's knocking it out of the park also. Highly recommend that. If you want to read a different type of Superman book, where you have a younger superhero who's trying to live up to his father's ideals, morality, it's an incredible read. So anyway, I read on one of the comic book websites that I frequent, a review of this said that the story in it was great. It focuses on Doomsday, which is a perennial villain for Clark Kent. All right, so that's my first book. Next up, we have Ultimate Invasion. This is issue number 3. This is the variant cover. I've been pulling the variant covers in this because they've had some amazing artists on it. I haven't read any of Ultimate Invasion yet, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's part of my reading habit since the pandemic is that I'll wait several months, I'll build up an entire arc, an entire story, and then I'll read them back to back, usually on a weekend morning with a cup of coffee in hand. It's just something that I found more enjoyable than reading a bunch of books month to month to month to month. Why am I pulling Ultimate Invasion? Well, Miles Morales came from the Ultimate Universe. He is my favorite Spider-Man. And so I became attracted to the idea that Spider-Man might be going back. Miles Morales might be going back to the Ultimate Universe. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I figured I'd start right here with Ground Zero and kind of build from there. One thing that has increased since the pandemic was my love for Star Wars. I've loved Star Wars since I was a little kid, had the Kenner action figures and everything like that. But since the pandemic, I've really invested in developing a deep Star Wars collection in my personal collection, not just Star Wars, but Darth Vader and other characters that I find intriguing. One that I really enjoy is Mando from The Mandalorian. And so when it came out that they were going to be publishing a Star Wars comic book focused on Mando from the series, I had to pick it up. This is issue 3 of volume 2. This is one of the variant covers. And it follows the series like from episode to episode. So if we're looking at this cover, if you're familiar with the series, you'll recognize this figure right here. It's a mother who's trying to get her progeny and herself to her husband on a distant planet. And Mando, and here we see Grogu right there, is helping her travel. This is one of my favorite episodes. There are a lot of first appearances in this series, and it's pretty easy to acquire. If you enjoy Star Wars, Marvel has been knocking it out of the park with most of their Star Wars books. This is at the top of my read pile. This is Night Terrors, Night's End. Josh Williamson came up with this concept of having the world consumed by a nightmare, like everybody fell asleep and they're all engaged in their own nightmares, brought on by their own kind of deepest, darkest fears. In some ways, I've heard it connected or compared to an event early on. This was, I think, right at the end of New 52, going into the beginning of DC Rebirth, called, I'm drawing a blank. It's like seriously right over there on the, it's Dark Knights, metal and then death metal. I don't think it has that feel at all. What's cool about the series is Williamson is pulling out some kind of B-lister characters that oftentimes do not get the attention that they deserve, and they're using them as part of this. This is a more mystical or magical story. It's using teams that focus more on that, like the Justice League Dark, which is currently my favorite Justice League roster. And here we have, I think it's Simone Di Matteo. He's just come over and started doing work for DC. I think he has a Batman Robin book coming out after working with Al Ewing on We Only Find Them When They're Dead. So it's an awesome read. And if you like any story that is more mystical or magical, this would definitely be it. It is as close to a horror book, I think, as the main DC label can get. Here we have Conan the Barbarian. This is issue number 3. This is a part of the Titan. Number 2, sorry. This is a part of the Titan series. I'm pulling the variant covers that are retro. So this one is a throwback to Savage Sword of Conan. Apologize for the glare. I've only read the Free Comic Book Day issue. If you enjoy like original Conan, like going back to Marvel's original work way back in the 70s, I think this might be a book for you. The Free Comic Book issue was on point with that. It kind of had that Roy Thomas vibe to it. The artwork is very consistent with what I would have expected, though it has kind of a modern polish to it. It is not what you would see in other comic books, I think. So, Conan the Barbarian, if that is your particular sword and sorcery character, highly recommend it. This is a book I've been waiting for. Chip Zdarsky has started writing Batman, and it's been a lot of fun. It's very different than the last few Batman writers. Are talking to Josh Williamson, Tynion, and Tom King. Even Scott Snyder, I think it has a very different flavor. It's kind of, I feel like it's going more towards the roots of Batman, and hopefully we'll get kind of not the kind of Gotham is being threatened storyline that seems to be kind of part and parcel of the last couple of years. This is a foil cover, so I'm trying to hold it at an angle so you can see it. I chose the Jim Lee cover. I really like Jim Lee's work. And since he doesn't do interiors, he's going to be investing some time on his covers. Since he doesn't do them that much, he does have a day job after all. Anyway, this is supposed to be breaking up the relationship. At least that's the foreshadowing between Batwoman, I'm sorry, Batman and Catwoman that Tom King fostered in his 100-issue-ish run at the beginning of DC Rebirth. It's kind of side note, if you really enjoy a solid Batman story, check out Batman Catwoman. It is in the DC Black label. It is on point. It's more of an adult read, so keep in mind that's why it's DC Black Label. But it is a very enjoyable read. It is outside of continuity. Tom King, I think, is a master at writing short, discipline stories where, and I'm a Batman fan. I loved his run, but on 100 issues, he began to kind of stray, and there were some issues where I'm like, I'm not sure what you're trying to do here. But if you liked some of his other writing, like The Vision, definitely Batman Catwoman is on point. So looking forward to this. This is kind of the opening prelude issue. Some of the kind of connecting back to Night Terrors. Some of the criticism of Night Terrors is that it didn't connect to some of the current stories that are unfolding in the different series that connect to it. Now, I kind of disagree. I think Night Terrors integrated that in. I pulled all the main series that I'm currently reading. They're all tie-ins. So if you wanted to read Night Terrors, you could pull the Night Terrors issue itself. There's, I think, 4 issues. And then the tie-ins are just up to you. Okay, they're 2 shots. So like there's a Harley Quinn Night Terrors issues. It's a 2-issue series. There's Batman, Catwoman, Poison Ivy. The ones that I pulled really kind of connected to what I want to see. I pulled the Shazam, which focused on Mary Marvel. I pulled Zatanna because I knew that would connect to Justice League Dark. So did Wonder Woman. Those were awesome reads, pulling in some characters I didn't expect to see. But it also kind of showed some connection to the larger story with these characters and some of the things that they were dealing with. So it wasn't that this event interrupted what's going on right now with what is the label? It's I'm drawing a total blank. It's like there's some new label. Comic book companies do this all the time. I think it's DC. It doesn't matter right now. Anyway, so definitely recommend them. If there's a character you're interested in, going back and getting them. The Poison Ivy was really creepy. I enjoyed that. Let's see, Zatanna was good. Pulled in some characters I'd not seen before. Wonder Woman was solid. I think Detective Chimp was in there. He's one of my favorite Justice League Dark characters. Next issue, we got Monstrous 47. I've been following this since the very first issue came out. Let's see, it's going on almost 10 years now. The cover right here by Sana Takeda is what you get inside. There are times when the printing's a little dark for me and I have, vision issues, but the art and the world building is top notch. Marjorie Liu is kind of combining this steampunk-esque fantasy world where humanity is not necessarily the majority race or even the race that's dominating, and then there are all these other races and different factions. There's a lot of political infighting. It is really, really an awesome read, and there's kind of this Cthulhu vibe going on with these elder god type creatures. So definitely recommend Monstrous. This right here was just a nostalgia throwback. I'm a child of the 80s and I watched the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. IDW has published, they published a 4-issue series, and then this one right here is just kind of a summer thing. This is the variant cover. I got this one because it reminded me more of the original Dungeons and Dragons art. And it's hard not, for me at least, when I'm reading this, not to hear the characters' voices in my head. That might be something to check out. Okay, so here's my pickup, and this is something I've been looking for some time. Conan the Barbarian, issue number 3. I think it's from 1973. Maybe it was 71. Anyway, so the issue is about 50 years old. Most of the issues I'm seeing on the secondary market look really beat up. They have water damage. The spine's barely hanging on. There's chips on the cover. And this one is in pretty immaculate condition. The colors pop. The pages are off-white. There's some spine ticks, but for a 50-year-old book, I'm okay with that. There are some dimples on the cover, both the front and the back. I think with a good press and clean, those would come out. And this is one that I purchased for two reasons. First, huge Conan the Barbarian fan. Conan the Barbarian was my gateway into comic book collecting and reading when I was in middle school. That's really a topic for another video. But also, I'm looking for acquiring books at this point in my collecting collector's journey. We'll go with that. This point in my collector's journey, I'm trying to add value to my personal collection, my PC, so that way it becomes more of a legacy instead of a bunch of expensive paper that I'm dumping off on my kids and my grandkids. I want them to look at this and see the value. Part of it is monetary value, but also in the case of this book right here, there's an emotional value to that, and it's up to me, it's my responsibility to help communicate that to them, which is the purpose in part of this video. So if you like what you have heard in my very first video, please do like, subscribe, and share. I will be posting a pick up and pull video like this, or pull and pick up video, every Sunday. And so as we move forward, I'm hoping they'll get a little bit more polished. If you have anything you want to share, please leave a comment down at the bottom. And thank you for watching my video.